Welcome to Dear Love. I am your host, Simply Bree. You are tuned into Next 595. We on IBNX Radio, and tonight we have a guest with us, Miss Mimosa Palmer. Welcome.
Hi, everyone.
Yes. How are you?
All is well. So glad to be here with my Simply Bree.
Yes, honey bun. So tonight we will actually be talking about unhappily married. Now, have you been married before, Mimosa?
Yes, I have. Actually, I've been married twice.
Okay. So then, with marriage, everything is not always glitter and gold, right?
No. You have to work at it.
Yes, a lot of work. So before we get into tonight's topic, Mimosa,
Yes.
did you prepare yourself for the Fast and Furious 60 seconds?
Yes, I did.
All right. So what we're going to do is I'm going to go ahead and pull up 60 seconds on the stop clock. And I'm going to need you to give your best impression.
My
your
best impression.
First.
My best first
That's
impression.
all you got.
Okay.
Okay. So
Yes.
you ready?
Yes.
All right. You go. Go ahead.
All right. Well, hello, everyone. I am Mimosa, Queen of Life, the Phoenix. Yes, the Phoenix, because I have risen from the ashes numerous times of being burned. And depending on how you know me is whether or not you know my government name or whether you know my pen name. So, with that being said, I hold a BA in psychology, a master's degree in adult education and development. I'm a writer. So, of course, with my co-host, with the host here, my co-writer, my teammate,
Yes.
we have definitely produced several writing publications. I myself, as a writer, let's see, I have my book titled My Life in Love. It's erotica poetry and poems and love poems, and it can be found anywhere fine books are sold. As well as we're about to relaunch Lunch with Yaya, which was a play that I wrote that was produced last March, as a matter of fact. And let's see, what else can I tell you about myself? What?
Girl, you was over 60 seconds.
Oh, was I? Sorry. Okay.
See, she just greedy. Can y'all see?
Sorry.
She trying to take, let me just close.
That Leo shine. We do what we do.
Uh-huh. So, as I stated, tonight's topic is about unhappily married couples. Now, I did receive a submission, not an audio. This one was an email from one of the listeners. And, I'm going to say this. In relationships, period, we all sometimes have these petty arguments.
Yes.
Petty moments, it's not even important to us, but it's just a principle. Mm-hmm. So I am going to read a submission that I got from one of the listeners, and then we'll dig deeper, more so into just being unhappy in a marriage.
Yes.
So it says, my husband and I bought a car so we could have two reliable cars to get around, and because he works 3 hours out of the day every day. He now is telling me I cannot drive the new car because he doesn't feel comfortable with me driving it.
What? Wait a minute.
And
Can I stop you?
No.
Wait.
Wait.
Okay.
Just write your thoughts down. And it would be too hard, and all it would take is my running into one curb to ruin the car. It's a Dodge Challenger stick shift. I have driven stick shift before, and I'm infuriated because I am not stuck with our van that's on the beget of dying. Why do we always end up with the cars that's getting ready to die, right? We always, us and the kids. I have a child that I take to school every day, and he tells me if it breaks down, I can call a cab.
Oh.
I'm feeling very second place to this car, and like he thinks I'm incapable. Am I wrong for wanting something? Am I wrong for wanting absolutely nothing to do with the car? He says I'm ridiculous and have no reason to be mad. any advice for me would be great. Thank you.
Okay. Can I talk now?
Yeah, you can definitely talk. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. In listening to that letter,
Yes.
what some, and I express the word some men, do not understand about their wives or women is that she's a reflection of you. Okay? Therefore, your wife should have the better vehicle. She should not be in a vehicle with your children, if there are children, in a vehicle that is on its last leg. Therefore, if there are some men listening and you are in the better car, what does that say about you if your wife is driving the raggedy car? Because as I said, your wife and children are a reflection of you and what you uphold and what you value. So if you put your wife in a raggedy car, then you don't value her very much, or your children, or their lives, or their safety.
Now, a
That's
lot of
all.
people I'm sure are out there like, oh my God, it's just a car. Really? You're really digging that deep into it. It's just a car.
Would you put your mama in that car? Would you put your sister in that car? Would you put your daughter in that car?
Right, right. So I could see her bringing this topic or bringing this concern up to her husband as being seen as a petty argument. So as I stated, the both of us have actually been married before, so we know all about the arguments. But when it comes to marriage, it's pretty difficult to just walk away or just say, you know what, I'm done with this. I don't have to address the issue because you're in a binding contract. So you should want to, of course, talk out whatever situations you guys have anyways. But what if you feel like you're not able to have these discussions with your significant other, with your husband or with your wife, and every time you do try to talk about your concerns, it just raises an argument? What do you do in situations like that?
Well, in situations like that, you have to take a step back and look at yourself and find out what is truly important to you in reference to the relationship in the marriage. Is it valuable? Is the argument really that important to discredit or throw away the whole relationship,
Right.
or not talk, or not deal with it?
Right.
You have to take that look at yourself and the relationship.
Would we? I'm sorry, guys. I'm over here trying to do some everything. Would we really be throwing away the relationship though?
And it all depends on like how long the issues have been going on.
Right.
Okay. Like you said, you and I both have been married. I've actually been married twice. My first marriage was 11 years. My second marriage was a year. And with the first marriage, I actually checked out mentally.
Okay.
Okay. Before the marriage, before we actually split,
Right. She's like, got to go.
I checked out mentally on the relationship.
Right.
And was there because of my children. My children were young at the time. So mentally, I was already gone. In my mind, the relationship was already over. The marriage was over. I was taking care of my children. They needed my attention. My sons needed my attention. That's who I gave my attention to, and I did me.
Right. Okay. Well, a lot of people tend to do them when they are at the end of a relationship, when they feel like they have already checked out. So, what we want to do is we want to talk about, ask some questions and kind of try to figure out how we can get things back together before we start doing ourselves.
Yes.
So, what we're going to do is we're going to take a quick break. And this evening, all of the songs, I'm trying to help you guys out. If you're just not happy, I'm trying to help you out. So this first song that we actually are going to play is Ain't Nobody by Shaka Khan. This is Dear Love. I am your host, Simply Bree, with my guest, Miss Mimosa. And this is Next 595. We are we on IBNX Radio. We'll be right back. Ain't nobody.
Hey.
Welcome back, welcome back, welcome back to Dear Love. I am your host, Simply Bree. And to my left, I have my lovely not even co-host, you're my guest,
Yes,
girl. I'm so used to
guest.
being around you.
Yes.
My guest, Mimosa. And tonight we are talking about unhappily married people and things that, just figuring out why they're unhappy. Like, what was the root source of your unhappiness in your marriage that you could think of?
My first husband and I were married young. Okay, so I was 20 when I said I do. In 2021, he was 24.
Okay, that's not too bad.
No, it's not.
Yeah, it's
But
nice.
when you really don't know one another, we were childhood sweethearts. That's number one. When I first met my ex-husband, I was 12 and he was 16. Right.
Whoa, wait a minute.
Yeah. I mean,
Wait,
yeah,
what?
I was 12 and he was 16.
What was I
And-
doing at 12?
So, yes, I was 12. He was 16. This is New York, and it was funny because at 16, he had a full beard. He had a full beard and mustache at
Whoa,
16.
that was a grown man.
He was very hairy. So, of course, my grandmother was just like, oh, no, y'all are not, going to be, no, he's too
Yeah.
old, he's too, and she really thought he was a grown man. But
Yeah.
it took his mother. His mother had to come meet my grandmother and say, he's only 16.
Listen, he
okay?
walking around looking like somebody's father.
He was. So with that, we broke up about after a year or so. We kind of broke up. I had some issues going on at 12. Yes. Okay.
What?
Yes,
Okay.
honey.
Hey,
And we broke up and then kind of drifted apart from each other. So I left New York, went to Atlanta. He found me to find out where I was at, and was supposed to take me to my high school prom, but ended up getting into a car accident.
oh my God.
And crushed a vertebrae in his back. So we lost touch again. And of course, at that point, I didn't care. I was 17. Who cares?
yeah, you're not 12 anymore.
I wasn't 12 anymore. I could care less. So
Yeah.
went ahead and went off to college. And then one day I got a phone call on my dorm and went to the phone. It was him. And he was like, I've been looking for you, blah, blah. So we talked that one time and talked a few more times. And then I ended up leaving the college I was at after my freshman year and went back to Atlanta. I was in Atlanta at that time. And we reconnected. And I guess for him, it may have been, this is my childhood sweetheart, and not getting to know, we didn't take the time to get to know the adult versions or young adult versions of ourselves. It was the fascination of, oh, this is my childhood sweetheart. We reconnected. We're going to get back together. And then, like most of us, some of us, our story is, I got pregnant. My family was like, oh, no, we are not having any more children come in here out of wedlock and get married. His family was like, get married. So what do? We got married.
Okay.
And that's how we ended up in the marriage. But we didn't know. We did not know one another. We walked in, like I said, as young adults. So we walked into this marriage, into this union, not knowing, like really knowing who we were. And not even just that, him not knowing who he was as a young adult, and me not knowing who I was as a young adult, and then bringing children into the
Okay.
mix.
But what made you unhappy within the marriage? Either one of them.
Well, with the first husband, like I said, not knowing each other,
Okay.
not knowing ourselves. I had issues I was dealing with.
Right.
And when I say issues, I was molested between the ages of 6 and 16. I was raped my freshman year of college. So I still had mental issues to deal with that I did not heal from.
Right, yeah.
Okay. So imagine taking all of that as a survivor, just pushing forward because I had these 2 babies I had to take care of, this husband, this man that I was supposed to take care of, and I had no clue what a marriage was supposed to be.
Right, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I didn't have the examples. I didn't see the examples daily of a married couple. My grandmother
a
raised
difference.
me. She was a single mother of 4.
Right.
Okay. My grandfather walked out on her And then not only did my grandmother raise her 4 children, then she then turned around and raised me, and then raised my first cousin. And there we
Yeah.
go. So all I knew was strong woman.
Yeah.
Work, take care of your kids. Take care of your family. Do what do whatever you need to do to take care of your children. So that's all I knew. I didn't know the aspect of what the marriage is or what you're supposed to do. Now, yes, when I moved to Atlanta, I did live with my aunt and uncle who were married. But again, they weren't talking to me at
Right.
16 and 17 about what a marriage is and what a marriage consisted of. And you're supposed to discuss your finances and talk and do, the whole picture or aspect or the different entities that make up a marriage.
Right.
I didn't have that conversation. The conversation wasn't given to me. So what the unhappiness came from me trying to listen to what he wanted, how he wanted things done that his mother used to do, with me doing things that I knew to do in the household that I knew from with my grandmother.
Right.
Okay? And it was as simple as cleaning the house. He would say to me, "Oh, why don't you clean one room at a time, because that's what my mother did." But growing up with my grandmother, Saturday was the cleaning day. You got up, you cleaned, and then you went on about your day and did whatever it was that you needed to do. After that, the rest of the day was yours.
Right. Okay.
Okay,
So then the way that you are brought up could ultimately go into your future relationships.
Yes.
As far as the way
Yes.
that you were raised, the cleaning.
Yes.
Even down to the way that you seen your elders treating their significant others.
Yes.
So that can also play a role into ultimately an unhappy relationship, an unhappy marriage. When you had problems in either of the marriages, did you find it easy to communicate
No.
or more difficult to communicate?
It was difficult to communicate.
And what made it difficult to communicate?
I didn't know how.
Okay.
I didn't know how to communicate. My version of communicating, or the way I would communicate, was to shut down. I would shut down and let everything build. And then when it came down to the last straw, or as they say, the straw that broke the camel's back,
yeah.
then I want to put it all out. I wanted to put it all out on the table. Well, you did this back in January, and you did this, and you did that. And back in December 2001, so now I'm bringing all of this stuff up that he's forgotten about.
Right. Yeah.
That could have been addressed then at that time. So now, and with that being said, now that whenever I do get into a relationship or I do become married again, because yes, I'll do it again, I know to address whatever it is that needs to be addressed right then and there. I'm
Right.
not holding anything.
Yeah.
I'm not holding anything back.
And that's very important, that any issues that you guys have, you resolve them, you get it out. Communication is like the top of the chart in every relationship. It doesn't
is.
matter if it's a romantic relationship, if it's a platonic relationship, if it's a relationship with your coworkers, your family members. Communication is the number one thing. You can ask anybody up and down, and they're going to
is.
say communication.
Most
So
definitely.
now, when it comes to, let's say you had a troubled past relationships, and now you get into a new relationship, how do you feel that troubled past could play a role in your new relationship?
Well, first things first, whatever troubles you've had, you have to heal yourself. You have to go through the process of self-healing, whether it's get a therapist, journal, go to your pastor, the deacons, the mothers, whoever.
Right.
Heal, talk about it, get it out, and heal yourself. Forgive whomever it was that hurt you, because as you hear people say, forgiveness is for you. It's about you letting go. That's what forgiveness is. You letting go of the hurt, of the issue, of the trauma. And when you can talk about it and not find yourself get angry and cry and upset, you're over it. You're healed. You're done
Right.
with it. And If you don't do that, then yes, it is going to wreck or wreak havoc in your relationship.
Right. So I guess it's safe to say that time definitely does play a significant role or a difference in both getting to know someone,
Yes.
but as well as healing yourself.
Most definitely.
Like if you're in a relationship and that relationship ends and you jump into another relationship, now you're carrying your baggage, because we all have baggage. You're carrying that baggage into the next relationship because you haven't given yourself the ample amount of time to heal.
Exactly.
And some people just don't want to be alone.
And that's an issue. If you do not like to be alone, let me tell you, this is funny, okay?
Have
Something about
season
be
by
alone,
yourself.
okay? So when I think about that, being alone, I did not actually live alone until about 6 years ago. Yes, 6 years ago.
6 years ago.
Exactly. I know people like, how did that work?
Girl,
Okay.
she just said 6 years ago.
6 years ago. So when I looked at that timeline, it was so funny when I realized it. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm actually by myself.
How did that feel?
It felt wonderful. It was amazing. I was like, oh my God. It was just so, it was a revelation. It was a breath of fresh air.
Child, you can get up and walk around naked if you want to.
It was amazing. It was amazing because when I looked at the timeline, all my life, of course, as a child, you live with someone. And we always had a house full of people with my grandmother. Then from there, I went to living with my aunt. From going to college, living in a dorm with a roommate. Then when I did get my coming back to stay with my aunt again and live with another aunt, uncle in the house. And then when I did get my own place, I was never home. I was always with somebody else, or somebody else was spending the night with me. Then I was married. Then from the marriage, the two marriages, the relationship, and even in between when I divorced my first husband to marry my second husband, I had people living with me, friends that needed a place to stay. They came to live with me, the kids. Then once that was over, I moved here, came back to Atlanta, lived with my aunt and her family, and then moved out and had a roommate and left from the roommate.
Honey.
Right. So when I finally, it was like, okay, I want my own spot.
Yes.
Then I ended up in my own place.
Yes.
And it was just, I was like, wow, I almost didn't know what to do with myself.
Yeah.
Because I was just like, there is no one here. I come home and there's no one here. I don't have to cook for anyone. There's nobody, no children talking about mom. There's no one looking at me, what you want for dinner? We want to go out. I mean, it was amazing. And I needed that in order to get myself to the point where I am now.
Wow.
Growth.
Okay.
Evolving.
Yes. That girl. Whew, Jesus.
6
years ago. That
6 years ago. And mind you, I am 40 what? Knocking at 50.
Wow.
Yes, okay.
So that's life-changing right there.
It is.
But it's important. It's important because if you feel like you always have to be under someone, when you finally are by yourself, you're going to go crazy. You're going to get into the worst relationships because you're just looking more so just to have that person there. You're not considering the fact of, okay, do I want a future with this person? And some people, don't get me wrong, some people are okay with that. They just want that companionship. They just want to know that there's someone under the roof with them.
Or they want to deal with a married man because they know that in dealing with a married man, he's going home at the end of the day.
Oh, so we're talking about...
I don't have to spend... I mean, that's for some.
We're talking about lady number 2.
Right. And that's for some where it's like, oh, yeah, I'm going to deal with this married man because even though I'm alone and I don't want you always in my space.
Right.
So you come we spend our little time and then you go home because I don't have to deal with you. I really, that's some.
I can see that.
Yeah, I don't have to deal with you all the time. I deal with you when I want to deal with you.
Right. But you know what, too? And then you have the guys who deal with the married men who deal with the women, and they look at it more so like there's no strings attached.
Right.
They get their needs satisfied and they keep it moving. And then you got the guys who deal with the married women who know or feel like, okay, well, she can't get attached to me because she has a husband.
Right.
And so she doesn't have time to be stalking me and blowing up my phone, and I don't have to spend all of this quality time with her.
Right.
You know, I can just give her Long John and rub her
Or
back
give her
every now.
crumbs. Let me give her
Yeah,
crumbs
bits
of
and
time,
pieces.
bits and pieces of
What was
time.
it, Gretel? What was it?
Hansel and Gretel.
Hansel and Gretel. There you go.
Yeah, but you know, with issues like that, you got the crows eating the breadcrumbs, so you can't go. You can't. Their trail is missing.
Yes.
Their trail is missing
So-
because the crows done ate it up, or the birds.
What we are going to do is we're going to get ready to take another break. As I stated, tonight's topic is unhappily married. I am Simply Bree, and this is Dear Love, and I have my guest Mimosa. You guys are listening to Next 595. We are we, and the next song is called A Good Night, and it's by John Legend. So we'll be right back.
I looked in your eyes and they went through me like a knife. I came here with my crew, I lost him. Came with my cool, I dropped it. And if I'm being honest, I can't think when you're looking like that. Can't breathe when you're moving like that. Tell me when you're gonna do me like that. Yeah, I'm so weak and I'm never like that. Like speed and I think I might crash. One trip down, I might never go back. But everything's gonna be alright. I think I just met my wife. Yeah, I said it. I know it's gonna be a good night. I think I just met my wife. Alright. Maybe it's the music or the red stain on your lips. I'm wondering when the right time is to go in for a kiss. But I'm thinking past that, love. I'm ready to meet your mama. If I'm being honest, I can't think when you're looking like that. Can't breathe when you're moving like that. Tell me when you're gonna do me like that. Like that. I wish you knew what I'm thinking right now. I don't know if I can say it out loud. I don't know if I can say it out loud. But everything's gonna be alright. I think I just met my wife. I know it's gonna be a good night. I think I just met my wife. Hey, baby, you got me talking crazy. I figure if I say it, it just might be my lady. Baby, it's you. Yeah, baby, it's you. Yeah. And ooh, I feel like something good is about to be going on. Hey, and baby, it's you, yeah, yeah. Baby, it's you, yeah. And everything's gonna be alright. I think I just met my wife. Yeah, I know it's gonna be a good night. I think I just met my wife. Come on, everything's gonna be alright. I think I just met my wife. Sing it with me. I know it's gonna be a good night. I think I just met my wife. Alright, come on.
It's gonna be alright. I think I just met my wife. I know it's gonna be a good night.
Welcome back. This is your girl Simply Bree on Dear Love with Next 595. We are IBNX Radio. I have my guest, the lovely Mimosa.
Hello.
And we are actually discussing unhappily married and what it is, how do you get there, and how do you get out of it. So now, is it possible when it comes to issues, because I know men, you guys feel like we're just always blaming everything on you, and we're not. So is it possible that when there's problems in a marriage, it's not always the man?
That's
it can
correct,
be us.
because it's two. It takes two.
Yes.
Okay, it's not always the men, and that's one of the things that we as a society must stop doing. We must stop just blaming all the men with the issues in a marriage, okay? Because women, yes, and I'm going to say this, we could be just as trifling as a man can, okay?
Yes.
So look at your own faults.
Yep.
Look at yourself. And what does it say? When you pointing a finger at somebody, there's 3 pointing back at you because your thumb don't count. So you better look at them 3 fingers pointing back at you, coming back at you. And take a look at yourself. No, you can't do that. No.
I really tried it.
She tried. Okay. But no, you have to look at yourself and what you're doing and whether or not you're really taking the relationship serious.
Right.
And that goes for both. Because you have men that may get married because of their profession. Take lawyers, for instance, and some doctors. Their profession, and ministers, their profession requires them, not necessarily requires them, however, it looks good for them to have a wife because with a pastor, like, okay, here's the shocker, y'all. Here comes the shocker.
Y'all ready? What is it?
Yes. My second husband was a minister. Yes, I was a first lady. Okay. Okay. Now.
Ooh.
Right. Okay. So pastors, a lot of churches and that sector would like and require for the pastor to be married. So have that first lady so that way the pastor is supported. Okay. So that's one sector. 2, the lawyers. When it's come time for them to be partners, make partner in a firm, yes, they want them to be married because it looks good. Okay. With doctors, somewhat the same thing. When you want to either some practices want you to be married, some practices, or some hospitals, they want you to have a spouse. They want you to have that significant other there. So, and there's probably some other occupations out there where they want you, as the man, they want you to have a wife. So when you're in that field of work and you're successful and you're building and it's like, oh, wait a minute, I'm 40 or I'm 35, I'm in this line of work, I don't have a wife, I need to get a wife. I need to find somebody that look good on my arm. So I can take her to a trophy, so I can take her to these banquets and get my awards and she's cute and, oh, your wife is fine. But what happens at home? What you do when you get home after that?
You place that trophy on the shelf.
You put the trophy on the shelf and you treat her all kind of ways because you out there sleeping with other kind of women because you're not happy.
But we allow it.
Right.
So we are just to blame.
And I think some of that goes back to some of the older generations where, girl, just be with that man. He treats you good. You got the house.
Girl,
you got the car.
got money.
You have the shiny. He's got the money. You just let him go on and do what you got to do and let him do what he's got to do. And as long as he's taking care of home, you fine. Well, not you get HIV, you ain't fine.
Ooh, baby child, wait a minute.
You get something you can't get rid of, you ain't fine.
So with that, not the HIV part, but with the whole what you're hearing from family, how are we supposed to look for support from our family when we are unhappy?
That's where wisdom on the individual husband and wife part comes. Know who you can talk to, because what happens is when you bring your family into your business, your personal business and your household, people have a tendency to look at the other person a little different when they come around. So, for example, say I'm married to my husband, my first husband, and we get into an argument and now we got to go to a family cookout. My sisters and my aunts and uncle and my aunts and grandmother look at him up and down and looking out, half speaking and treating him shady because I've involved them in confidential information about what's going on. And the same thing with him. He could have been talking to his mother, which kind of did happen, and talking to his sister, and then here I come around the family and they acting crazy toward me.
Yeah.
Okay, so now you have opposition on the families, on each family. Okay, so with that is, my suggestion is if you have to talk to someone, go to a therapist. Talk to someone who's not going to be judgmental. Talk to someone who's objective, okay? Because those family members, those aunts, those sisters, those in-laws, there's not going to be the same. They're going to pass judgment because why? They're not, and forgive me for saying this, I'm going to step on some toes, they're not mature enough to handle the complaints or the gripe They're not mature enough to say, okay, yes, my sister may be complaining or my brother may be complaining, but I have to know this is the person that he married, he's in love with, and I need to love her just the same without any judgment.
Right. And that could be a problem because if, let's say you're the only child and you've grown up relying on the advice of your family members, that favorite cousin that you just tell everything to, and now you're married.
You better go to a therapist.
Why do we treat therapy like the plague?
Because people don't understand it. They don't understand that a therapist is there to help. You have too many people watching TV and want to call therapists quacks because you don't feel like the therapist knows what they're talking about. Well, when it comes to therapy, finding a good therapist is doing homework. You have to find someone that you feel comfortable with, that you feel will help you and have your best mental interest and mental health.
Right.
When you step into that office. It's just like anything else. I mean, I'm sorry, but if you're an African-American couple, do not go to a Caucasian therapist because one, they have no idea what Black love is. They have no idea what a Black relationship is. They have no idea what a Black couple goes through on a daily basis as far as dealing with racism and relationships. They don't know. Okay. Now you might find one that may be married to a Black woman, or a Black man, but still, they don't live our lives. They haven't lived our lives. They don't know what we go through on a daily basis as Black men and as Black women, and what Black love details to really help that individual or help that couple in a relationship.
Okay, so let me play devil's advocate right quick because I just love doing that, right? So you say don't go to a non-Black
that's
therapist.
my opinion.
Right. So now we also have to take into consideration the past of this therapist, because this therapist could have been brought up in a single parent household, and that's the only lifestyle that they know. So if you get someone who is non-African American, wouldn't they be able to provide you information or just sight from a different perspective?
They can provide you insight from a different perspective. However, how does that help?
Well, sometimes if we're looking straight all the time, but the problem is in several different directions, we need someone to steer us to look around, try something different.
Okay.
Step out of the box. So maybe just going to a therapist, period, can help regardless of the race, because ultimately you want advice. You want someone that's going to point out some things that you haven't actually paid attention to. You could have neglected.
But I want someone, I was just saying, I want someone that I can relate to.
Right.
I want someone who, when I look at my therapist, I'm asking the questions. I'm going to ask them, are you married? How long have you been married? What is your significant other the same race or different race?
Right.
So that way I can get a feel of what the therapist has to offer me, and
Right.
whether or not to give that different perspective.
Right.
But like I said, like I said, it's my opinion. If you want to go to a Caucasian therapist, Puerto Rican therapist, Asian,
Whatever you're
whatever you want,
comfortable
whatever
with.
you're comfortable with, that's you. You
Right.
go.
Right.
But Mimosa, Queen of Life, the Phoenix. My therapist is an African American female. Okay.
Yes. All right now.
All day.
Now, what can we do when there are unresolved problems in the relationship, and you just feel like, regardless of how much you communicate to your significant other, regardless of how many times you guys go to therapy, how many counseling sessions you have, they're just not getting it? What other options are there to help them get it?
You have to ask the person or find out if they want to get it. See, they may not want to get it.
Right.
Okay. So And there's a test to that. When I say a test, yes, there's a test to whether or not the other person wants to get it. So if you are a married couple, and if you are in therapy, and there's only, say the wife is making all the appointments, well, tell the husband to make the next appointment. If the husband does not make the next appointment, then you know it's no longer.
Right.
At that point, he or she doesn't want it. So say the husband is making all the appointments and come home and say, okay, honey, you make the next appointment. And she does not make it, that means she doesn't want it. She's done.
Right.
It's a done deal. So at that point, you really have to ask yourself, do I want this relationship? Do I want to get it? Because there's no reason why that if you say you love someone, this is your husband, this is your wife, you should do everything that you can to understand what it is that they are going through, or what it is, or what the issue is between the two of you. If that means that it's the past on him or her, there's some trauma going on, help them resolve that trauma, help them heal.
Right.
Okay. And then again, that person has to want to heal. The other person has to want to get it.
Right.
They have to want it. You can't make somebody want it.
Right.
You know, what do you say? You can lead a horse to water, but you cannot get him to drink.
Right.
You can force their head down. What you gonna do? Drown them in the river? Come on.
That's
You gonna
illegal.
drown the
I don't
person?
think you can drown. I don't think
Okay.
who out here
Come
drowning
on.
folks?
Okay, try to drown or try and force the horse's head into the river to try to
Right.
drink water. You can't do it. You cannot force anyone
Right.
to want it. You can't force them to do it.
Okay. So finally, last thing that I can even think of is, how do you know, what are some signs that identify you being in an unhappy marriage?
You stop talking to one another, and you stop taking care of each other. Because that's what one of the things that I noticed when I was thought back about the topic and I reflected back on my marriage, the first marriage. I stopped taking care of my husband. My focus went straight to my kids. And when I say stop taking care of him, I mean I did not cook for him. I did not wash his clothes. I did nothing for him. Nothing. I didn't go
So
anywhere
you guys
with
are
him.
just roommates.
Right. And everything I did, I cooked for my kids, and because my sons were so busy at the time, I have to say this though. You talk about support. I had an outsider, Miss Carol, she was wonderful, who taught me how to manage my home with my children being so busy. And she taught me how to cook like 3 or 4 meats on a Sunday and 4 or 5 vegetables and 3 or 4 starches, and then take the 3 compartment containers and mix them up and throw them in the freezer instead of buying frozen TV dinners.
Right.
So that way my kids at least had a healthy meal. And because I ran with them with sports, it was come home, take the, pop the
Right.
meal in the microwave and keep it moving. So when I did that, he would eat some of that, which was fine with me. I didn't care. But as far as like sitting down, like cooking a big Sunday dinner and sitting down and eating
nah.
as a family like we used to, no, that did not happen.
Gotcha.
I stopped taking care of him.
Well, if you guys are eating the children's food because your significant other refuses to cook for you, you may want to see a therapist, okay? So
Yes.
we're going to wrap this up. My lovely guest, Mimosa, tell them where they can reach out to you.
All right, so yes, you can find me on Instagram at Queen of Life Empowerment, Facebook Mimosa Queen of Life Chestnut, Twitter handle is QOL Empowerment, and of course, if you want to email me, queenoflifeempowerment@gmail.
Okay. Any final announcements?
All I can say is it takes 2 whole people to be in a whole marriage. There's no half, no better half, no quarter, 2 whole people. So do the work Heal yourselves before stepping into a relationship.
Please, because I don't want to have to deal with you.
Okay.
Okay? I'm not trying to play
You
patty
come with
cake.
all this baggage and trunks. I'm gonna tell you, you better leave them at the door because I can't come in
Listen.
my house with it.
And with that, you guys are listening to Dear Love. I am Simply Bree, your host. And our song wrapping up this segment is going to be Teach Me by Music Soul Child. This is Next 595. We are IBNX Radio. We'll be right back.
I was told the true definition of a man was to never cry, work till you're tired, got to provide, always be the rock for my fam, protect them by all means, and give you the things that you need, baby. Our relationship is suffering, trying to give you what I never had. You say I don't know how to love you, babe. Well, I say show me the way. I keep my feelings deep inside, I shadow them with my pride. I'm trying desperately, baby, just work with me. Show me the way to surrender my heart. Girl, I'm so lost. Yeah. Teach me how to love. Yeah. How I can get my emotions involved. Yeah. Teach me, show me how to love. Show me the way to surrender my heart. Girl, I'm so lost. Teach me how to love. How I can get my emotions involved. Yeah. Teach me how to love. I was always taught to be strong. Never let them think you care at all. Let no one get close to me before you and me. I done shared things with you, girl, about my past that I'd never tell to anyone else. Just keep it to myself. Girl, I know I lack affection and expressing my feelings. It took me a minute to come and admit this, but see, I'm really trying to change now. Wanna love you better, show me how. I'm trying desperately, baby, please work with me. Show me the way to surrender my heart. Girl, I'm so lost. Yeah. Teach me how to love. How I can get my emotions involved. Yeah. Teach me. Show me how to love. Show me the way to surrender my heart. Girl, I'm so lost. Teach me how to love. How I can get my emotions involved. Yeah. Teach me how to love. Ain't nobody ever took the time to try to teach me what love was but you. And I ain't never trust no one enough to let him tell me what to do. Teach me how to really show it and show me how to really love you, baby. Teach me, please just show me, yeah. 'Cause I'm willing to let go of my fears, girl, I'm serious about all that I said. Girl, I wanna love you with all of my heart. Baby, show me where to start. Teach me how to love. Show me the way to surrender my heart. Girl, I'm so lost. Teach me how to love. How I can get my emotions involved. Teach me, show me how to love. Show me the way to surrender my heart. Girl, I'm so lost. Teach me how to love. Yeah, how I can get my emotions involved. Teach me how to love. Teach me how to love you, baby. Girl, just teach me how to love you better. No, I wanna love you better, girl. Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
All right, welcome back. Welcome back to Dear Love. I am your host, Simply Bree, and to my left, I have the wonderful Victoria Wilson.
Hi.
Welcome. And to her left, I have the beautiful Barbara Hopewell.
Hi.
All right. Now, I hope you were practicing your Fast and Furious first impressions in 60 seconds. Because I got my timer ready. So are you ready?
I am.
Are you sure?
I'm sure.
All right. So stopwatch. Nope, actually, yeah. Stopwatch. I'm just going to start it. Go ahead.
I'm a Southern Belle from Edwards, Mississippi. I love chicken. I'm an opera singer, and I compose my own music, and I really love helping people. And my nickname is Catfish.
That's your mama's nickname. That's not your nickname.
Little Catfish. Don't be
Little Catfish. Thank you. Catfish, she was trying to take your credit. Okay, well, that was 20 seconds. So, okay, I guess you just fast, ain't you? Okay. No, Barbara, you don't want to do it? Yes, Fast and Furious 60 seconds.
Sure.
Okay. All right.
Yes.
Well, we'll pick
be a
up.
team player.
All right. Now, this is going to be Barbara's Fast and Furious in 60 seconds first impression. Go.
I'm Barbara Hopewell. I'm originally from Philadelphia, moved to Georgia quite some time ago. I'm here because I love to help people, and I'm looking forward to informing you guys on what we're going to talk about tonight.
Yes.
17 seconds. Okay. All right. That's what we're doing. That. Whoa. Competitive, are we? All right. Okay. Well, tonight's topic, if you guys did not see a flyer or was under a rock somewhere, is going to be on human trafficking. Now, human trafficking, what do you know, Victoria? Well, no, wait, you know a lot about it. I don't know. But how important is it for people in the community to know, educate themselves on human trafficking?
It is very important when you see something like this that is taking over about 24 million people, and the amount of money that's being earned is over $1 million in our country. That is something that is truly important, and we need to bring awareness to it. A lot of people have a misconception of human trafficking, thinking that it's prostitution, this is something that they willingly wanted to do, or it's a basis of someone being a stripper. That all of those are misconceptions. The plain definition is stealing one's freedom to earn profit. And we know that sounds familiar. This is the modern day slavery. So it's time for us to take action. If you don't know about human trafficking or understand it, then I encourage you to join some of your local organizations in your specific region or community, get certified about it. This is very important because this commercial and sexual act is increasing daily, hourly, and just nationwide as a
Right.
whole.
Now, what is human trafficking?
So human trafficking is basically the use of force to obtain sexual or commercial act. Human trafficking is not formed around a particular region or community. It can affect anyone of any age, any gender, any nationality. That's what human trafficking really is. It's, like I said, stealing one's freedom to obtain profit. That's simply as you can get.
Right. Now, who are traffickers? What are traffickers, actually?
So a lot of people think traffickers are someone that you don't know. Traffickers are sometimes people that are in your own backyard. Recently in the news, we saw where a Cleveland pastor trafficked two adolescent young ladies there. And according to the congregation, of course, he had a clean slate. He didn't have any criminal or negative background record. So if you're thinking of traffickers, that can be your pastor in some cases, a family member, a friend. But let's go deeper. These are police officers, government officials
Really?
that are obtaining profit, agricultural operators, people over bars or brothels. There are people in hospitals. These are some of the most common traffickers. And pretty much the women are rising as traffickers. It's
Why do
not the men.
you think women would partake in something as heinous as this?
Because I think as a woman, a lot of times we're more sensitive to issues when we're dealing with other young ladies, their emotional trauma. If they're going through something, we can try to relate to them to encourage them. So being a mentor, and if you feel like someone is encouraging and being a mentor to you, you're going to confide in them more. You're going to want their support on everything. And we see that with the women traffickers. That's how they're luring in young ladies, letting them know, oh, I can help guide you. I have an organization that can assist you with your emotional instability. You can gain finances to help your family, and that's where they start right there. They look for those factors such as psychological, emotional problems. They look for that lack of independency, the lack of a social or safety net, and they feed off of that.
Wow. What age ranges would you say the victims usually fall in between?
Normally, it falls in between the ages of 12 to 18 years old. There is more common between the ages of 12 and 14, but it also is going into young women and men younger than that as well. And just for the record, human trafficking does not just affect girls. I want everyone to know that, because a lot of people say, oh, that's because she's a woman. No, that's not the case. It's affecting boys as well.
Right. Yes.
Can I interject?
Yeah.
Also, I want everyone right now stop thinking about human traffickers as the guy in the box van that's going to stop you and snatch you out the side of a van. That is not necessarily the human trafficker. The human trafficker is, like she said, like Victoria said, is someone you trust. They have to be able to trust. You have to be able to trust them in order to be lured.
Right.
That's how they gain access to you, is by being someone that's accessible to you and things like that. It's not the scary boogeyman that we always tell our kids about. It's like, oh, keep your eye out for don't go near him, don't go near her, they're bad. Oh, it could be, like Victoria said, anybody that you would never even expect. A pastor, a nurse, a doctor, a counselor. And, you're going to counseling to get assistance for another emotional thing, and you never know what that is going on behind that door.
Right.
You see it every day.
Wow. I think that it's definitely, it's hard to take all of that in, especially when you mention law enforcement. They're even a part of it, because we look at law enforcement just like we look at our parents to protect us. Right. So, how is it that we're supposed to trust in them? I mean, especially with a lot of the things going on now anyways. Yeah. Just to know that they also partake in that type of crime that they arrest people for. It's like mind-blowing.
Yeah, I think we have to be more knowledgeable of it. And, I'm not a parent, but as parents, I think we need to take the initiative to go a step further, not always rely on the educational system, the administrators, the law enforcement. And I'm not going to specifically state the region, but there was a specific precinct in the state of Georgia where we are having this live segment at, and they had a back alley, and the officers was charged because over $10,000 he received from human traffickers. So they relied on him because they knew that they were not going to get arrested if they were able to use the officers as bait to continue this operation there. So, of course, it's so much going on. The climate and the government is just so negative right now, but we have to take accountability of our own community. We need to bring awareness. There are so many organizations. You can call the National Human Trafficking Hotline. You can go to your local organizations, like in Georgia. You can go to Wellspring Living, Covenant House, Youth Spark. They have volunteer programs, but also they have ways for you to be certified. I am a licensed certified person for human trafficking, so I know those specific triggers and know what I need to do in order to make sure that that person gets rescued as well.
Right. Wow. It's weird because, I won't say it's weird, it's interesting because I remember going one night to a Quick Trip, and it was somewhere out in the boonies, but I went to a Quick Trip and it was late at night, and I seen this sign, and I believe it was yellow, and it said Safe House. And I was like, what is a safe house? And what I learned just from that, and you can definitely add in or correct me if I'm wrong, but if you are a victim of human trafficking, if you go to that particular location and you let them know, then they have somewhere to hide you. And then a program will be dispatched to come out and
Right.
pick you up and help you and get you away from whoever the person is.
Exactly. And that's pretty much how it works. But just with the safe houses, you have to be very, very clear because some people are making their own homes as safe
Yeah.
houses. Make sure that there is a representative that is licensed and knows, okay, yes, we're going to take you to this, we're going to contact this specific program operator because someone should come out immediately to assist you. You should not be in there and then this is foreign. It doesn't look like it's a organization operation that's ran smoothly. You have to just be careful because there are a lot of places that assume that they're safe houses
Get them
and they're
right back
not.
into the same
Right
situation.
back in it. Right back in it.
Wow. So what can be done to protect ourselves from being a victim of human trafficking?
And Barbara definitely can chime in with this
Yes.
as well. The main thing, and I know social media is such an enormous platform right now. Everyone is trying to, promote their businesses, and I am all for that, especially entrepreneurship. I congratulate you. I encourage you to continue to do it. But when it comes to your children, you need to make sure that you are controlling what they're doing on social media. I understand that you want to allow them to have that independency and that freedom, but no child should just be able to search the net, post up pictures, post up videos, communicate with people that they do not know
Yes.
without your parental consent. And they have parental controls on a lot of platforms. I know
Right.
they have it on YouTube, and I'm sure they should have it on like Facebook and
Oh, yeah.
Instagram. But these is where these men and women, that's how they lure you in when you're on online. That you're
Right.
posting up, posting up a cute picture, a selfie, hey girl.
Yes.
And then they DM you, hey shawty, you look nice. Where you from? And then just because you want to be, famous or just have another friend and show your maturity, you give them all your information. Secondly, don't post your locations all the time. I remember one time last year, I was going to a Mardi Gras event here, one of my friends in Atlanta, and I posted up where I was because I wanted everyone else to know that hey, this place is having a great
Yeah.
Mardi Gras event.
I remember
And surely enough, this guy slides into my DM, and I don't like a lot of people that slide into my DM. Do not slide.
Do not.
Do not. Because I'm gonna see you right back to my brother. But, this
Brother on
gentleman
deck.
slid into there and said, hey, I saw you at the event. You were looking really nice. I wanted to, connect with you. I have been watching you all night. And right there, I was very concerned because if you wanted to say anything, I would think you would do the human thing and just come up to me. Now, it's my job at that time to either want to engage in a conversation or be respectful and say, not at this time, but thank you.
Right.
But for you to watch me all night, and some kind of way you found me on Instagram, then that was very scary. So to me, that was like, okay, Victoria, you can enjoy yourself and have fun with your friends, but do not put your location out
Right.
there because it's too easy to find now.
Right.
And you think about that as an adult.
Yeah.
What about kids?
They know
They know
nothing.
nothing. And we have to tell our kids how to interact with the internet. It's not just us monitoring, but it's us telling our kids, hey, everything doesn't need to go on the internet.
Right.
Everything doesn't need to be on Facebook, Instagram,
Right.
Snapchat. Everything doesn't, everybody doesn't need to know everything. And another thing that we can do to help is let's go back a little bit. I'm kind of old school. I didn't get a chance to grow up necessarily in that time where the neighbors looked out for each other a lot, but we did in our neighborhood when I was growing up in Philadelphia because we lived in row homes. Let's go back to that time. Pay attention. If you see something going on with a child in your area, in your neighborhood, in your school that doesn't seem right, you see a guy that's approaching, you know good and well he's 25,
Right.
and she's 14. it doesn't look right.
Right.
Speak up. People are so afraid anymore to speak up because of the backlash.
Right. Yeah.
I would rather have the backlash and be wrong and or not say anything and be right
Right.
that something was wrong.
Yeah.
And then I find out later, now she's missing.
Right.
Now he's missing. And I didn't do anything. It looked wrong, but I didn't have the courage to say anything.
Right.
Embolden yourself. You are empowered. You can tell things are not right.
Right.
Go get training. I would encourage everyone to go get some kind of training so you can learn what those cues and triggers are.
Right.
Absolutely. But you have one of the biggest triggers. We're humans.
Mm-hmm.
You know what's right and what's
Right.
wrong.
Right.
You can tell what's right and what's wrong. You can tell when things don't seem right. Just use common sense.
Right.
But you also talk to your kids.
Yeah.
We tell our kids everything but the right things.
Right.
Exactly.
Talk to your kids about the right things. I encourage people, talk to your kids about these dangers that are out here right now. They've been out here. It's not a new thing. It's
Yes,
always been
exactly.
there, but it's just more prevalent now because it seems to be easier now because of the way the laws work.
Yeah.
Like we said, the lures are not some scary guy. It's actually some cute guy, some cute girl. She's laid and ready to go, and you want to be trendy and dressed and all of that. And so she tells you, girl, you know, my friend say, he'll help you get your hair done and your clothes looking like mine. Why don't you come with me?
Exactly.
Gone.
Right.
30 seconds.
Yeah. That's all it takes. I remember I went to this gas station one night and I was on the phone with one of my friends. And I always go to this gas station, so I know the guy, the cashier. And I get out the car and it's this car next to me. It's almost like a SUV, but it's like a hatchback type of thing. And it was full of clothes and bags and stuff, but it had this girl in the back seat and she was just looking out the window and she wasn't making eye contact at all. And she looked out of place. Like she did not look like she belonged in that car. And part of me was just like, something's not right about this situation. And it was two guys in the car. One was in the passenger seat. The other one went inside the store. And they honestly looked like meth heads, right? So it had to be like 10:30 at night on a work day. So it's like Tuesday, Wednesday. So I'm like, why does this girl, she looked like she could be 16. I'm like, why would she be out this late with these two guys at this time of night in this car? Like, it just doesn't make sense. But did I say anything? No, I didn't say anything. But I went inside and I looked at the guy and then I got what I got and I went back outside and I went in my car and I was on the phone. I was like, yo, I said, this situation just doesn't seem right. And I was like, you know what? There's always a cop driving up and down my street. So I said, I'm just going to go and see if I can find a cop. If I find a cop, I'm going to tell him to go back. So as I go, I probably get 2 stop signs ahead and I don't see a cop. But I'm just like, something's not right. So I said, you know what? I'm going to go back and I'm going to get the license plate number.
Good.
I went back, the car was gone.
Oh.
Yeah.
I was like, I drove up and down the street looking for the car and I was like, that could have been a victim.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That could have. And that's an important thing. First, don't go to the gas station at night,
Girl.
especially by yourself.
Yes. Yes.
But that was important. I definitely would have gotten the license
Right.
tag number. But you said something very important, and also Barbara mentioned about triggers, things to recognize.
Mm-hmm.
If you see a person, male or female, if they look like they have been engaged in some type of emotional, physical abuse, if they look like they do not want to have any type of communication, do not want to look you in the eyes, if they look like they've been traveling, don't have any belongings, all
Right.
of those are things to be able to recognize.
Right.
Also, if you ask them, if they do communicate with you, and you ask them, okay, well, who's your employer? And they don't know who their employees is, they don't know anything about their earnings. I mean, who works and you don't know how much you
Right,
make?
yeah.
Then those are all factors that could pretty much lead up to that they are a victim of human trafficking. And the main thing is, don't try to go to the traffickers, don't try to ask them questions, because you can put yourself
Right.
into danger. But I will call the police immediately. If you, I will, sometimes it takes them a long time to respond, so I will call the National Human Trafficking Hotline. You can call them or send an immediate text and immediately ask you where you are, what's going on, and then they will link you up, of course, to the nearest police precinct.
Right.
I have an example of an opportunity
Okay.
that I took. I was in a 5K about a year and a half ago. And as we're walking along, we're walking downtown Atlanta, down through the parks down there. And an older, elderly fella with a dog, walking a little dog. And there's children walking with us. Some parents brought their kids and things like that. The girl that was in front of me, she was probably 11 or 12. She saw the dog. And she goes, "Oh, I want to go and I want to pet the dog." But we're in a 5K.
Right.
We're all in a 5K. We're all walking along. Mom continues on.
Yeah.
I said, "Hang on. Come on, baby.
Whoa.
Come on. No. Come on. No. Come over here." And she looks and she said, "Well, my mom said it was okay." I said, "No, it's not. You don't know that man or his dog.
Right.
It is not okay." We have to use a little bit more common sense in this
Yes.
because that is a lure.
Yeah.
Let me get this child away from these adults by attracting her with this dog. And next thing you know, the child could be gone.
Right.
So, but you had to, big mouth like me, have the courage to speak up and say, "I don't care if your mom says she's up there.
Right.
You're going over there."
Right. Yeah.
Let her
Go
go
get
with
your
you
mom.
to go to the
Right.
Right. Wow. Very good points. Well, what we're going to do is we're going to take a break, but we will definitely be back. I want you guys to listen to this song. It's called You, and it's featuring, Oh, I'm sorry. It's not called You. It's called Warrior, and it's by Demi Lovato. So we're going to take a break. We will be right back. And once again, you're watching Dear Love on Next 595. We are We Radio. Yes, I wasn't sure which one.
This is a story that I've never told. I gotta get this off my chest to let it go. I need to take back the light inside you stole. You're a criminal, and you steal like you're a pro. All the pain and the truth I wear like a battle wound. So ashamed, so confused. I was broken and bruised. Now I'm a warrior. Now I've got thicker skin. I'm a warrior. I'm stronger than I've ever been, and my armor is made of steel. You can't get in. I'm a warrior, and you can never hurt me again. Out of the ashes, I'm burning like a fire. You can save your apologies. You're nothing but a liar. I've got shame, I've got scars that I will never show. I'm a survivor in more ways than you know. 'Cause all the pain and the truth I wear like a battle wound. So ashamed, so confused. I'm not broken or bruised. 'Cause now I'm a warrior. Now I got thicker skin. I'm a warrior. I'm stronger than I've ever been. And my armor is made of steel. You can't get in. I'm a warrior, and you can never hurt me. There's a part of me I can't get back. A little girl grew up too fast. All it took I'm stronger than I've ever been. And my armor is made of steel. You can't get in. I'm a warrior, and you can never hurt me again. No, ooh, yeah. You
Welcome
never
back to Dear Love. I am your host, Simply Bree, and I have the lovely Victoria, and I have the lovely Barbara, our two guests. And tonight we are talking about human trafficking and the just identifying it, understanding what it is, and preventing it from occurring. So now we all know when it comes to human trafficking, a lot of the times the traffickers will use physical abuse on the victims to really manipulate them, to control them. But what are some other types of methods you think the traffickers may use to control their victims?
You have about like forced marriage, sometimes about forced organ removal. It's so forced servitude, forced labor. It is a lot of different things, and people don't really discuss those methods. They only say, "Oh, this is just physical abuse," but they can also, they are falsifying a lot of marriages or forcing them so that they can control you, and that is one of the that's one of the highest methods that they have been using recently. People have been forcing marriages, and that way that they can, have ownership over you.
They can also use a lot of emotional abuse as well.
Oh, yes.
By manipulating you and letting you know if you don't continue, we'll harm your family. We'll take away whatever monies that we're giving to
Right.
you to help your family. We'll take that away. So you feel obligated, especially if you're in a low income situation and whatever you are getting, because don't get it twisted. There is some money coming in. It's not just about it's not like the old time slavery where everybody was just you're a slave, you're just doing. They're actually getting money.
Right.
They're getting something, giving the victim something
Right.
to keep them there. And that is how they can control, and that's the difference now. That's how they control you, through the money, and that kind of manipulation as well.
They make a lot of false promises, telling you, because a lot of the victims are homeless people. That's how they start off, like she said, because of low income, not being able to achieve some of their financial goals. And so what's happening is they're making a lot of promises. I could take care of you. I could take care of your family. And then they put them in that position, and they don't do that. They only start to control you, and then they keep that chain going because do you have a friend? We know you don't want to be lonely, so what's your friend's name? And then the chain just keeps going and going, and it's all of your friends that you had in high school and middle school, and your parents have no knowledge about that. And they're saying, "Oh yeah, we're gonna give you this money," but they're making the money. I mean, this is $1 billion business, and this has been controlling our country for a very, very long time. And I know a lot of aspects of it, and I'm not going to get into the legal notion about it, but you see some things about like the R. Kelly situation, and you see things, about Bill Cosby, some of the most, well-known and respected artists in our industry. And we can't take away from what they've done for our community, but we're paying attention to so much what's going on in their lives that we're not paying attention to things that's going on in our own backyard.
Yeah.
And if we continue to do this is going to continue to increase. And we don't need to worry about the next generation. It's going to be gone.
Right.
So we need to start acting now. Parents, know what your children is doing. Know what they're going through. If you see any type of differences or anything, just have a discussion with them and let them know why this is happening and what the consequences are. We can be our child's friend, but be their parent first. Encourage them. Let them know that you care, because Joe and Uncle Tom and Susan and Mary, they don't care.
Right.
And you also have to think about it now, too. We are a society of convenience. We've got Uber, so to take our kids
yes.
for us instead of having to take them We don't really introduce ourselves to our kids' friends anymore.
Right.
We'll text, talk on the phone, just drop them off, whatever. What again? Let's go back to the old school. Why isn't it that you can't take your child to your child's friend's house and introduce yourself to that family? Make sure you know who your children are interacting with.
Right.
Besides, I'm going over to this one's house or that one's house. I'm just going to take Uber over to Atlantic Station for the day. That Uber driver could be the human trafficker.
Oh,
Right.
yes.
And he's going to return her home at night. But she get the same Uber driver every day. Why? What's going on?
Right.
And you ain't even paying it no mind. You just think, okay, that must be a safe one. That's why she going with that one.
Right.
That's why he going with that one.
So how do we educate these children without placing them in a world of fear?
I think one thing to do is just to let them know what is going on. Watch the news with them, but take them to and this is something that I've done last year with the students that I teach voice and piano. I allowed them to utilize their talents to encourage those young girls and boys. And so of course their parents had to sign a consent form for them to be in attendance and perform. And I wanted them to know, because of their age group, it was between 14 and 17, that this can happen to you in a split
Right,
second.
yeah.
And so I took them there, and they heard all the stories of people looking like them around their age group, and they did not know that someone that age had gone through that much stuff. It allowed them to really understand this is occurring in our world. I need to be mindful about my social media. I need to be careful of who my friends is. And I thought that was the perfect opportunity for them to learn, because even on the news, they might watch it, and then they might watch it, they ignore it, they're not paying attention to it. But the parents were so glad that their child was able to see that for themselves, because you never know. You can't take every opportunity for granted. This can happen to your child.
Right.
So I think that's a great opportunity to go to some of these events with your child. Miss Barbara has an amazing event, which I think is just wonderful. She's including youth and parents to be there. So those are the necessary steps that we can take.
Yeah. So what happens to the victim when they're actually rescued?
So when they're actually rescued, and this is a long process, some people think that when they're rescued, they are free, they don't have any trauma, they don't have any emotional damage, but that is not the case. It can take months and years for that person to really get a clear understanding of what happened and how to go from that, to not still be in a state of shock.
Right.
So you have different phases. You have the healing phase. You have the phase where you're breaking down, bringing back some of the memories, having them to talk through it. After they have to go through at least a 6-month to a year program.
Wow.
And
Yeah.
then even still, when they go through that program, a lot of them revert back to some of their old ways. They go back on the streets, they go back and find connections with their their trafficker at that time, because they're so accustomed to that.
Right, yeah.
So it takes a while, and the main thing is for the family and friends, if you know this person, for you to be patient, for you to be encouraging, for you to be open. Do not be judgmental,
Right.
because that can definitely take them back. But it's a lot. When they're rescued, that is only the beginning. And it's up to them whether they want to accept that positive lifestyle going next.
Right.
Wellspring Living and Covenant House, they've done some amazing work. They have some of the tiny homes where those people can stay there for a long time. But I'm encouraging the government. These homes are filling up. They don't have anywhere to go. You can't place these people.
Right.
So instead of utilizing our money on other things and our taxes, build some more places so we can put these people in places that are positive and help them. Like, this is what we should be paying our taxes and everything for.
Right, definitely. Now, you did mention Barbara does have an event coming up,
Yes.
March the 8th. So let us know. Tell us a little bit about the event that you have coming up.
The event is called Real Talk, open discussion for youth. about human trafficking. The event is March 8th from 3 to 5 in Noonan. It's a conversation that's going with a social worker, a person who's going to explain from a victim's perspective, as well as a person that's going to speak from a legal perspective about the different aspects and avenues of human trafficking where it involves children. It's all geared toward talking to children, but yeah, I encourage parents to come, bring your children, and let's have that real conversation, because people don't know how to talk to their kids about it without scaring them
Right.
and making it. And we don't want them to be scared to go out, and we don't want them to be scared to interact with social media. We want them to be smart about interacting, and what help is out there. How to
Right.
identify what situations you might see around you and what help is available to them, outside of your school counselors and things like that. What do you do? Where do you go? Maybe I don't trust talking to this person. How else can I go? So we're going to have resources to talk to people about that. And I encourage everyone to come on out.
Yes. So you guys definitely check out the event. It's going to be March the 8th from 3 to 5 p.m. Tickets for students are free and adults are only $10. I feel like you can't put a price on education. So especially if it's something that could save your life or save your child's life or another child's life. So it will be at the Howard Warner Boys and Girls Club. The address is 55 Savannah Street in Noonan, Georgia. And it will be hosted by West Central Georgia Club Youth. So what we'll do is we will go ahead and take a break. And then when we come back, we'll wrap things up. I am your host, Simply Bree. This is Dear Love on Next 595. We are We Radio.
This is to mother you, to comfort you and get you through when your nights are lonely, through when your dreams are only blue. This is to mother you.
This is to be with you, to hold you and to kiss you too. For when you need me, I will do what your own mother didn't do, which is to mother you.
All the pain that you have known, all the violence in your soul, all the wrong things they have done, I will take from you when I come. All mistakes made in distress, all your unhappiness, I will take away with my kiss. Yes, I will give you tenderness. For child, we are so glad we found you. Although our arms had always been around you, sweet bird, although you do not see us, we see you, and I'm here to mother you, to comfort you and get you through when your nights are lonely, through when your dreams are only blue. This is to mother you.
All right, welcome back, welcome back, welcome back to Dear Love. I am your host, Simply Bree. This is Next 595. We are IBNX Radio, and I have the lovely Victoria and the lovely Barbara, our two guests. And this evening we were speaking on human trafficking and just the importance of educating yourself on what it is, who are the traffickers, who can be the victims. I can be the victim. I can be a trafficker. You never know. I'm not, but
Yes, put the
just put that out there. I'm not. But, people that look just like us, people who look just like you. So you can't really paint an image of who this person is. So the best thing is to educate yourself and check out the resources. So just wrapping up the conversation, Victoria, you have any final words, any resources that you want to provide?
Yes. Well, first, I would like to thank you and all of your staff for just wanting to bring more awareness about this illness in our community. I think it's so important. So for those, even if your friends or family members were not able to tune in, and of course, it'll be posted online. However, please share it. Go to your nearest resource facility and find more information out. Since we're located in Atlanta, Georgia, I just want you all to know a few stats. And I brought my little sheet of paper to make sure that I'm giving correct information. That's my motto. So, of course, in Georgia is one of 14 U.S. cities with the highest rate of human trafficking. 12,400 men purchase sex with young women in any given month. Over 100 adolescent females are exploited each night in Georgia. We have, as Sabrina spoke earlier about making sure you get educated about this, there are a lot of facilities out there providing free certification. If it's not free, then normally a lot of the proceeds go to helping those that are involved in some of those situations. You have Wellspring Living, Covenant House, the Human Trafficking Institute, which is also connected with the Civil and Human Rights Museum in Atlanta. Those are three main sources, and also Youth Spark. So I deeply want you all to receive your certification and volunteer. Don't be afraid to have an honest conversation with those young men or women. We need to help each other. And lastly, if you see anything that it triggers in your mind that these people or someone can be trafficked, then please contact the National Human Trafficking Hotline at 1-888-373-7888. Or you can go to their website, Human Trafficking Online. If their phone call is just too long for you, text 233-733-HELP. If I were you and I notice any situation, I will call the police, and I will also text 233-733 immediately. Get their license plate, but do not approach the person that might be the trafficker. Your safety should be just as important.
Yes, and Barbara?
I would like to just come back and say we are having more and more conversations about it. You're hearing more and more about it. Get involved. That's the key. We need safe people to get involved, to help, to communicate, and to educate into our communities. It's not the other guy's job. It's our job to get this word out, to inform our youth, to inform our communities, to encourage, to make our children safe, to rebuild our community.
Yes, I definitely agree. I thank you both for coming on the show and speaking with me in regards to a very important topic. Human trafficking, people are being abducted daily. Like, I don't know how many just got snatched up just now, but it's the point is you have to find a way to give back to the community. That's the purpose. How does it hurt? It doesn't hurt anyone. It doesn't take time. It doesn't cost money to help someone, because if you were in that situation, you would definitely want someone to help you out. So I thank both of you ladies for coming on and, having this conversation, this much needed conversation with me. You guys definitely tune in next week, next Thursday, same time, 7 to 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You can go to the website, www.dearlove, and that's LUV.com, where you can find past shows, blog entries, upcoming events, and I will definitely make sure that I share this event as well on Facebook. The Facebook page is Dear Love ATL. You can follow me on Instagram. It's _simply Bree _, and that's SIMPLEE Bree BREE. And just reach out if you have a situation that you want to talk about and you don't really want to share it with everyone. You can send us an email. It'll be anonymous, and we will talk about it on the show. We'll help get feedback and find resources for you. So until next week, thank you guys for tuning in to Dear Love. On Next 595, we are IBNX Radio. You guys have a good night.